Back on Radio Row ahead of the big game this Sunday, live and exclusive in-stadium coverage here on talkSPORT for UK Radio. You can also watch it on our streaming, by the way, our dedicated NFL YouTube channel, talkSPORT Endzone. I'm delighted to say that coming on, we've had a few network talent along this week. I think it's the Greg Rosenthal link, right? He's doing our game.
Yep.
He's doing our game on Sunday.
Oh,
he's the third voice in the booth
great.
for us.
How cool for him.
And so I thought he'd been having words with people to come on with us, but maybe not then.
No. He doesn't brag. He's humble.
Yeah, he's an awkward man, that's what you're trying to say, but that's okay. I'm delighted to say that Good Morning Football host Jamie Erdahl's with us. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah,
it's the Friday before a Super Bowl. We're all awesome, and we're all here.
Right? And,
yep.
How's your week been?
It's been really busy, but in a really good way. I did Good Morning Football from LA Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I flew here Wednesday night. I did Good Morning Football Thursday, Friday from just like 50 yards from here. And we deemed today Hall of Famers only Friday. And I mean, it was an incredible day. Emmitt Smith, Dan Marino, Deion Sanders. We had so many cool guests on. And I hadn't been to a Super Bowl in a couple of years. I had my babies and whatever. So I just hadn't been back in this environment. And it just feels so cool to be back around just all this coverage and all these people that just are here for one sole purpose. And that is to talk about the finality on Sunday.
I really had my babies or whatever.
There's a couple babies in there.
So dismissive of, I'm
Three
sure.
of them.
I want to talk a bit more about the weekend and the game and stuff as well, but I want to ask about what it was like to blow the horn. That must have been...
It was life-changing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get invited to Kevin O'Connell comes on the show. Now listen, you host a show, I host my show. I mostly... 99% of the time know exactly what is going on at all times. That's my job. Like, even if Kyle goes off the rails, at least I know in some semblance Kyle's off the rails, and it's my responsibility. I give or take him like 4 or 5 minutes to get him back on the rails and get us to commercial. When KOC came on and he starts, last question, and he starts talking about, Peter, I love you. Akbar, you're my guy. Kyle, you're great. But Jamie, and I literally was like, what is happening right now? I'm nervous, and I don't know where this is going. And then the invitation, and then I cried on live television, and then when that game got flexed from the noon kickoff on CBS to a Sunday night football game, and my Gallerhorn experience got the Mike Tirico treatment, and it was on NBC. I mean, and then they went on a 9-game winning streak. The whole thing, the U.S. Bank Stadium, being home in Minnesota, doing the show there Friday morning and Monday morning, it was a career moment. I was so just elated. The whole weekend, it was kind of like this, like I was just on a contact high.
I mean, I could listen to you talk about that for hours. It is genuinely, I think, one of the coolest things that I've seen somebody get to do this year. And it's great that, all of us that do this because we're football fans, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, this isn't just a job. We get to do the most ridiculous job in the world. And so when you just get that little moment to let your fan flag fly just a little bit.
And that's exactly what it was. There are 60,000 people in that stadium that night. My dad, my father-in-law, my husband, Vikings fans, I know them all. I got so many tweets from people later, and I'm so it fills my heart with joy that this is the response that I got, which is like, you sounded the horn the same way I would have. I would have lost my mind. I would have been so thrilled to be up there. I mean, I truly came out of that tunnel, like through the curtains I was jumping around like I was being introduced at like a high school basketball game. And I wanted to freak out the way any fan, like if you got the opportunity, win a contest and sound the horn, like I wanted to be that person because it's how I felt in my heart. Listen, I did the scouting. I went back and I watched a lot of people sound the horn, like the classics, like Joe Mauer did it, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, and all those guys are legends. But they come around the curtain and they're like, I'm like, hello, what are you doing? You have an opportunity here. Maybe they think because they'll get to do it again, but I was like, I'm never going to get this shot again. I am going to be shot out of a cannon. I'm going to sound the horn, and And then they said, if we're on defense, you have to stay up there, and there is no team I have ever wished to flip the coin and be deferred to defense more than the Vikings that day. They're like, get back out there, keep jumping. And I was like, say less, and I was losing my mind, and it was great.
I think maybe your reaction means you might get invited back to do it again sometime.
I hope so. If this isn't a pitch, then I don't know what is. I would love to do it again.
There's actually a guy on our team who it's not sat here as I turn around. Of course that was going to happen. Jay, who's part of our team here, but he also hosts the UK Jaguars podcast, and he got to do the Duval at Wembley and in front of the London fans. And I mean, he was as nervous as I've seen him for anything in his entire life. But the high afterwards. I'm not going to lie, we took it live on radio partially because we thought he might stuff it up, and he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
That's incredible. And what's probably cool for him, did he do it like last season or something?
Yeah,
or?
this season just
Okay,
gone.
so, now I think Wembley, it's so far beyond just like a novelty, like I'm going to go see what football's like. Like those are real Jags fans that are in the stadium that game. So that must have been amazing for him, like a real Duval chant.
And, he was a good luck charm. They beat the Patriots. You went on a 9-game run after that. So
They should let the regular folks do it all the time.
Just about their season, Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year last night, and so phenomenal up until the last couple of weeks. And don't need to talk about the history of the Vikings making it to a certain stage and not getting over the line.
Yep.
But how confident are you that they can take everything they built on this year and go forwards with it?
I'm really happy that Brian Flores stayed. I'm happy he's still the defensive coordinator. When Jason McCourty was on our show, he had played for Brian Flores in Miami. And when they hired Flo in the first year, the defense was fine, but it seemed like Flo was trying to coach a defense for guys that weren't on that team yet. And Jason kept telling me, just wait until Brian Flores gets his guys in. And I think bringing in, Blake Cashman, Daniil Hunter, guys like that, Alex Van Ginkel, last off season, you're like, dang, this is a Brian Flores defense through and through. So I'm really happy with the future of the defense.
I think just on that point as well, brings his guys in, but also the diamond in the rough that is Josh Metellus. Just taking him off special teams and turning him into basically the key to the defense.
Swiss Army knife.
Unbelievable.
I love that man. Also, Cam Bynum, just for like what they bring to the table with their dance performances.
We had twins this year, and then in London they did the Parent Trap celebration. So I went and saw him down in the locker room, and we'd interviewed him a couple of times at this point. And I was just like, oh my God. You doing the twin dance in London, and it's like it felt like a moment for me,
you had
and
twin
I wasn't
babies
involved.
This year?
Well, not me personally, but my wife did.
I know, but congratulations.
Thank you so
How
much.
old are they now?
8 months.
Oh, yeah, mine's 10 months.
So how am I here? Good question.
Yeah, bless your wife.
9 days.
They're not crawling yet.
They're not crawling yet.
Yep.
But
that's why she can survive. Once they start moving, that is a whole. And especially, they're going 2 different directions. You better get home before they start crawling. Mine just started crawling last week this week that I've been gone, and I'm just like, ooh, maybe I should stay a couple extra days. Like, it's so hard when they start moving. You're like, wait, where'd you go? The football used to just sit there.
Didn't think this was going to come up in this interview, but there we go. You started talking about the defense, and then on the offensive side.
Okay, so the Vikings in general, really happy with the defense. I'm honestly perplexed by what they're going to do at quarterback. Sam Darnold deserves a longer-term contract than I think the Vikings should give him. They have J.J. McCarthy. Does J.J. need one more year of sitting behind somebody? I don't know what he needs, but I think Sam Darnold deserves a 3 or 4 year deal, like not quite the expense of Baker Mayfield, but like a longer-term deal. Yeah. So do you just sign Daniel Jones and like do another year, or is JJ going to be ready? So I love Sam Darnold. I think he has said publicly that he wants to stay in Minnesota. I think it's quite the challenge that their GM, Kwesi, and KOC are once again tasked with like entering free agency, making a quarterback decision, because it was this time last year that we're at the combine and KOC's in the booth with Rich Eisen, and he's like, Kirk Cousins is entitled to pursue free agency like anybody else is, and boom, he goes to Atlanta. So I don't know what the answer is at quarterback. They're talented as heck everywhere else. Their offensive line is pretty darn good.
What I like about what you said, because it feels like the obvious answer, although it's a big cap hit, is franchise tag, right? But that feels so harsh on Sam Darnold that like gets locked into that, and then it becomes just a mess.
I think KOC is kind of tricky though, because he comes off like such a good guy, such a nice guy, and I think he is. But I also think he's a businessman, because this is a business, and like. He is playing, like, now that I think back to him saying those things about Kirk Cousins, like, he is entitled to pursue free agency, like, he didn't have to say it like that. He could have said, I want Kirk here. Like, I perhaps think that he's saying the writing on the wall for Sam is, like, he should go out and find the deal that he deserves.
I've been given that, so we've been talking Vikings, having fun.
I know.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry.
Thank you for having me.
Have a brilliant time at the weekend. Enjoy the game.
Absolutely.